So Bleach Rebirth of Souls just released their newest patch, and with them also adding some things like rank mode, and of course 1000 Year Blood War Ichigo, we also just got some great quality of life changes to some characters, and some general changes just for the game in general. One of the things is they made the guard recovery a lot better, so you're going to get your guard back faster, so you're not going to get as much pressure. They also made some adjustments to the breakers, making it where every character can now at least pair with their heavy or their light after a breaker. I think this is one of the low-key, one of the underrated changes of this patch. It makes every character at least a little bit liable if you have enough skill to use them. They also made your spiritual pressure build up slower after you use a spiritual pressure move, so you're gonna have a little bit of like a delay before you start building more SP, and it's actually going to be lower where you only get like 1 SP per every few hits, and then after this time goes off, then you'll start getting your normal spiritual pressure back. They also made a good adjustment for you always being on the left side of the screen whenever you're fighting online. It was pretty annoying to be flipping from the right and left, especially trying to look at your meters, especially with just how fast the game gets. And also they made some adjustments with some ability cancels. You're going to be able to cancel out your quick attack or your flash attack, or maybe even your spiritual pressure move with one of these abilities, depending on what move you are. It is a little bit specific with each character, and we will go in more depth with that. But one more general change they made was they made some adjustments where the reverse gauge activation of the blue doesn't really break all the moves anymore. They made some adjustments where you're gonna have to wait and take some of these spiritual pressure moves or take some of these combos before you can use your blue reverse to actually break the combos and get out of things. But all around, I think this is a solid patch, and I'm excited to see what other things they're gonna bring to the game. But we're gonna go through each character and let you know what happened with them and what changes they made, so make sure you look at the timestamps in the description, and let's go ahead and get into this video.
Bring it on, little Suzuki. You want to see what true resolve is? I'll show you.
Start off with normal Ichigo. They made it where he's going to get his fighting spirit faster. They also made an adjustment to his signature move whenever he's in his normal state, where he's actually able to cancel it with a step. And they also made his special flash attack go a little bit farther whenever he's in his Bankai state. All around some good changes for the normal Ichigo. As far as the Bankai Ichigo, they did quite a few things, but the main thing is they got rid of a lot of his loops. So whenever you're going with the light, and going with the Getsuga, his signature action, it's not going to work as well anymore. You're only going to have maybe 2 loops before it ends. And also they made it where the Getsugas don't come out nearly as fast, so all around some great changes. And they also just made it where he doesn't get his fighting spirit that much, and it also takes longer for him to get to the reawakening. As far as with the other Ichigo, they made some adjustments to the final Getsuga. A lot of this mainly just goes with the normal state before he gets the first Kikon move, or I guess the first state to go into getting closer to doing the final Getsuga. Whenever you're in this first state without actually depleting a health bar, you're going to have lower damage whenever it comes to your flash attack, also your special flash, and your spiritual pressure move 1. So they basically just all around made this form weaker whenever it comes to not getting at least one of your moves off. And also it seems like you're not going to be able to use reverse actions until you get that first Kikon move off. So it's pretty interesting what they did with final Getsuga. Seems like they just continue to nerf him with each patch. With Uryu, they made some adjustments, basically making it where a lot of his spiritual pressure moves can't get interrupted by the blue reverse, and also they increased the stun time of his follow-up flash step. And they also made it whenever he's in his reawakened form, you're going to get some better distance when it comes to using his flash attack, and also his spiritual pressure move 1 and 2, getting some better damage output. All around just some great changes, and also with the addition of him being able to actually follow up with his breaker. With Chad, they did quite a few things with some of his dashes and some of his hits, but the main thing is kind of a little bit of a nerf. He did get a little bit of a buff, you know, he did get the buff with the grab and stuff in the breaker, but they did make it where that actually his signature action where he charges up his punch, it's going to take longer for you to actually get that fully charged, and also you're not going to do as much damage if you're not hitting them from the root of the attack. But all around, that's the main stuff they did with Chad. They also made some adjustments with Urahara. They basically made some scaling to his combos, where I think Urahara did a lot of damage whenever he'd actually get you into those combos and start hitting you with the Benihime. Now the combo scaling is just a little bit better, where he can still deal out some damage, but it's not going to be too crazy. With Yoruichi, she didn't really have too much much changed with her, mainly just her being able to not have her spiritual pressure move 1 and 2 get interrupted by the blue reverse meter. When we move over to Renji, the biggest change they made with Renji was his special flash attack. This move was extremely oppressive and allowed you to pull in and also act first as well. Now you can still pull people in with the special flash attack, but you don't have those frames to be able to do what you want after it. You're actually vulnerable and your opponent can hit you. The only way that you can actually defend yourself is by blocking, but if you've whiffed that special flash attack and then try to go with a breaker or anything else, you're not going to be able to get anything done, and your opponent is pretty much always going to punish you if they just hit you with a breaker right after you do the special flash. So there's a lot more punishment to using this and whiffing this, and also with his signature action there's going to be some longer stun frames where you're not going to be able to just go into other actions. So they just all around nerfed Renji whenever it comes to just being able to move as fast, but I still think he's a pretty solid character. With Rukia, they made some adjustments where she can actually cancel out of her special flash with a quick and flash, basically just making it into a normal combo. I think this is really good because her special flash is really good for starting combos if it would have been that way from the beginning. So now that they actually have it that way, I think this is going to be pretty good for her. And they also made some adjustments where she can cancel her spiritual pressure move 1 whenever she's awakened into her spiritual pressure move 2 or her flash attack. All around just some better things for Rukia to be able to go into some different combo options and just close the distance a little bit better. With Shuhei Hisagi, they basically just made it wherever his fear meter is going to go up better. I think it still needs maybe some more adjustments on some things with this character. He still whiffs whenever he does his triangle really close. It's kind of like how it is with Byakuya if you're doing your heavy, and maybe it was intended to be this way since he is using a chain weapon, but I do like the change they made with his fear meter, with it going up with the SP1 move and also the SP2 move. It does allow you to get a little bit closer to being able to take those 6 Kenpachi once you start getting later in the matches. With Rangiku, I think she got a pretty good buff. Main thing they did it was with her signature action whenever she's awakened is actually going to have a bigger range and it's going to carry a bigger area, and whenever you hold it or if you do the spiritual pressure move 2, the movement of the actual miss is going to follow the enemy a lot faster, and when you actually use this SP move 2, it's going to chip down their guard a lot more. So I'm definitely going to be using a little bit more of Rangiku now that we see that she has some better adjustments with this character. With Kira, they made it where he's actually going to do some great guard damage whenever he's using just a normal tep press of the signature action where he shocks you. The guard damage that it does for this is actually very, very good. Of course, we know that he also has the better breaker that doesn't knock them back as far. He can follow it with his triangle or with his square. All around some great changes with Kira, but the main thing is going to be his signature action that is definitely going to allow you to get some good damage to the guard. With Ikkaku, he got a little bit of a nerf with his special flash attack. He's not going to go as far back anymore because this move is very good at poking and getting out. He's not going to go far back anymore, and also he lost invulnerability at the beginning of the animation, so you are going to be able to punish him. And they also made it where he's going to take a little bit longer for him to get his Ryomon gauge, so even though he can take that 6, he's going to have to wait a little bit longer to get there. With Genryusei Yamamoto, the main thing with this character is they made quite a few changes. The main thing is they gave him a few more options for actually knocking down his Hellfire state. Now whenever you do a breaker, that's going to decrease the meter. Also just doing some normal light attacks. They also just made it where some of his SP move 1s and 2s don't really add as much to the Hellfire state, just allowing you to do a little bit more damage before you actually start hurting yourself. And they gave the SP move 1 some extended reach, so hey man, Yamamoto mains, go ahead and stand up for that. With Soi Fong, they made it where you're just not going to be able to extend her loops as much as you were before. After like the 2nd or 3rd loop of throwing your signature action in to extend your combos, there's going to be a little bit of an area where your opponent can actually block and end your combo, but of course you can still do the mix up, maybe hit them with a breaker or something like that just to open them up. But I do think that they actually give you an option to actually stop this. I like that they just got you out of the loops that you're in. Gin got an all-around good buff, basically making where he gets some better damage with the tip of his sword, and they also made some adjustments where he's going to get a little bit more priority whenever he's in a snake possession state after hitting the SP move 2. All around some good changes, and they also buffed his signature action. You're going to get some better damage from that, which I definitely like, especially when you hold it. The holding damage is really good. Aizen got a nerf in the sense that he got his Reishi reduced, and also it's a little bit harder to actually pop the Kyoka Suigetsu. Now instead of only having to use 2 bars of your reverse gauge, you have to use 2 bars of your reverse gauge, and you have to have the Hogyoku fusion level to 5. And they also made his Hien and also his Senjoku Hayo a lot slower, so you're going to get punished with this a lot more. And one of his best moves whenever he's in his second state, which I think is his special flash where he goes in and he kicks you and it doesn't really give you a lot of time to react, they increase the damage stun time and they decrease the guard stun time, so you're not going to be able to be stuck in this as much, and you're actually going to be able to punish this character more whenever he uses that. But he did get a little bit of a buff with the spiritual pressure move too. There is a little bit more of some slower frames, and he's able to catch you a lot more, so if you make the wrong mistake, you are going to get hit with that spiritual pressure move too, which does some pretty good damage from him. With Byakuya, they just full-blown nerfed my combo with him. Pretty much the main thing with him is they made his light attacks whenever he's in his awakened state go a little bit farther out, and they also made his heavy attacks go a little bit farther out, and also completely nerfed his signature action. While you can still do the 3 hits, you're not going to be able to go from your signature action into your lights or into your heavies. So if you start with your signature action, that's all you're going to be able to hit. I know the people that hated Byakuya are very happy about this now. There's a lot more limited combo strings with Byakuya. Of course, he can still pop his SP move 1 better than anybody else, catching you out of your Hakugekis or out of the knockbacks, but I do think maybe the signature action change was good to, you know, maybe tone some things down with Byakuya. As far as with Saijin, they just basically made some good adjustments to his signature action, making it come out a lot faster and also allowing you to cancel it into his SP move 1 to get some extra damage there. Shunsui didn't really just get too many adjustments to the character himself, but they did make some adjustments with the breaker, him being able to start some combos more, and also with the special flash attack, you can also cancel it out whenever you're awakened. So when you're awakened, you can do some pretty good bait with making people think that you're getting ready to do your special flash when you're actually not. And they gave him a damage boost to his SP move 1, and just all around some different buffs when it comes to his awakening. With all his different children game, you're actually going to get some more damage to the opponent whenever you knock them off the hill. You also get some better fighting spirit. They increase the damage output whenever you're doing the chase the devil, and they also just increase the amount of spiritual pressure that you get if you win the touch, the one where you have to wait until you tag. All around just made the games more liable and made them, affect the match a lot more. I do feel like these games were a little bit something that you could ignore when you're fighting him, but after some of these buffs, you definitely do have to pay attention to these games now. With Tosen, I don't really know if we can count this as a nerf or if it was really a nerf, but they basically extended the retreat distance, making him go a little bit farther back whenever he does a special flash, and they also added something where he can cancel out of his special flash into a dash on hit and on guard. So if you whiff it, you're not going to be able to do something, but if you hit them or if they guard your attack, you're going to be able to dodge out of it and go back and dash, which I think is pretty good, especially for some bait. They nerfed his Bankai a little bit in the sense of at the beginning of the Bankai, your opponent is going to be able to see a little bit more. The circle is a little bit wider, but the circle widens at a slower rate, so they're going to get more vision, but they're going to get their vision back slower, which all around is a nice little balance change. With Toshiro, they basically just made some adjustments, making it where his flash attack and also his signature actions are going to move a little bit faster and also have some better range, especially whenever you have your Tenso Jiren gauge a little bit higher. And they also allow you to just keep this Tenso Jiren gauge longer to allow you maybe control the match a little bit better and actually use that mid-range that is supposed to make Toshiro so good. With Kenpachi, they made a small but simple change, mainly to his special flash attack, which is armored. They made it whenever you're actually in your awakened state and you do the follow-up. If you land that follow-up, you can go into a normal light combo, which seems pretty small, but it's a pretty big thing when it comes to getting some good damage and getting some good combos off. And they also made an adjustment to his signature move whenever he takes some damage and then hits you with a counter. For one, the damage is a lot higher because he just all around got a basic boost to his damage whenever his souls are reduced. Whenever he has lower amounts of souls, he's just going to do more damage in general. But with the signature move now, if he hits you with it, he's going to get an extreme amount of fighting spirit, which is going to be very key with Kenpachi, because once he gets the sublimation, he can take 6 of your Konpaku. So this signature move is definitely going to be something to watch out for with him. Mayuri got some really good changes, and I was happy about that because Mayuri is one of the characters that I definitely wanted to play in the game. Basically just some increased guard stun. They also made a little bit of a nerf adjustment to his spiritual pressure move 1. You no longer can just pop this whenever you want to, like breaking combos or doing whatever you want. You can only use this at the end of a light string or at the end of a heavy string. And they also just made it wherever his poison is actually going to, you know, deal more damage, and he also applies more poison to you whenever he's using his signature action. It deals more damage as well. And also, of course, with the breaker adjustment, he can just do a lot more pressure, especially with him being able to send out the poison bombs and then come with his breaker after. Mayuri is definitely going to be a character that I do think I'm going to see a lot more people using. With Kaien, they only made an adjustment to his flash attack and also his signature action, basically just making it where you can get punished more if you whiff that flash attack, and with the signature action you can also get punished if you don't do it at the right time. Before, if you held the signature action, you could do whatever you want after the activation, but now your only option is blocking if you hold that signature action and your opponent blocks, because if you try to do something else, you will get hit before you have the ability to actually move. With Shinji, they mainly made an adjustment to Hiyori whenever he goes into awakened state, allowing him to actually pair and hit Hiyori off of your normal light or normal like flash attack combos, just giving you some more range. And also with the spiritual pressure move 2, they increase the damage whenever Sakanade is released, which I do like this a lot. Coyote Stark is probably one of the most insane characters after this patch. Basically just gave him a lot of different adjustments. He can actually charge up his spiritual pressure a lot faster. His flash attacks have a little bit more damage and they come out faster. And also one of the biggest changes, whenever he goes into his awakening and he's using the wolves, if he has more than 3 Konpaku, he is going to destroy 6 of your Konpaku just from going into awakening. There's nothing else that he needs to do. Once he goes into awakening, if he has 3 Konpaku, if he hits you with the soul break, you are going to lose 6, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to take 6 Konpaku with no sublimation. So we're definitely going to see a whole lot more Starks out there. With Halibel, they basically made a big nerf to a lot of her just, you know, being able to get her aura gauge and maintain it. Of course, she can still get it, but it's not going to be as easy to maintain it if you're not dealing damage. And while they did make some adjustments to some other things like the flash attacks and of course some spiritual pressure moves decreasing the damage, the main thing that they nerfed was her special flash, which was very oppressive because it was something that had plus frames and it allowed you to do whatever you want to do. Now with the special flash, you're not going to be able to do what you want, and it's punishable if you whiff it. There's pretty much nothing you can do if you whiff that special flash attack. You're gonna get punished by your opponent, which is a pretty good change, and it's what I asked for with Halibel. I honestly think she's pretty much a good character now that's not going to be too bad online. Ulquiorra got a really good buff, and the only thing that he really needed to do was just make it where he lost less health whenever he fired off his Ceros. So in the normal form, you're still going to lose the same amount of health. Once you go into Awakening, you lose a little bit less health and you still deal damage, but it's really the reawakening. When you're reawakening, the amount of health that you lose compared to the amount of damage that you do from the Ceros is really good, and it's really great. And like I said, Ulquiorra is not really my kind of character just because he hurts himself to deal damage, but I definitely will see a lot more people using this character because of those adjustments. Nnoitra also got some good buffs. They basically just made it wherever his special, his normal, like, you know, his normal quick attacks are going to be a lot faster to maybe catch somebody whenever they're off guard. And they also made it where he can cancel from his quick attack or from his flash attack directly into his signature move, which is going to allow him to get that block stock a lot better and use that armor. Now you do have to time your block stock a little bit more because they did say if you get hit with an attack, you're going to lose that block stock now, but they did give you some little bit more things if you actually use the block stocks correctly. Your SP move 1 and 2 are actually going to get their super armor a lot quicker, which is going to allow you to actually power through some people. With Grimmjow, they made mainly some adjustments to his annihilation state, basically making it where he's actually going to get more damage to himself. So they're basically making it where you're going to have a little bit more of a drawback effect if you're using this decimation state. And they made some adjustments to his special flash, which was very oppressive whenever he was in his awakened or decimation state, because it allowed him to basically get priority and do whatever he wanted and just keep pressuring you. Now there's a little bit more punishment whenever you come with that, with also them making some adjustments to Szayelaporro Grantz. They got rid of his loop, which he was able to do after doing his flashed up follow-up, and they also made some adjustments to his normal special flash, making it where you can't really get the combos off as well. But of course, you know, some people are still going to find some things with Szayelaporro because he has become a very popular character, but they just got rid of some of the easy things that are really easy to exploit. That's one thing I really like about this patch. It seems like they got rid of a lot of the easy exploits that was probably making things not really fun for certain people that were having to fight this. And the last character of the patch was Neliel, the character that didn't need a buff. Did get a buff. Now they did nerf her little flash attack a little bit, making it where, you know, there's a little bit more of a stun, but they made it where she builds up her chase stock faster and she can cancel out of it faster. I don't know why they buffed this character, but for some reason they just decided to do it. So now Nell is going to be even more of an issue. They made no adjustments to how fast she gets her fighting spirit, so we're still going to be dealing with Nell's evolution and going into their next state before you're even like halfway through your bar. But y'all can let me know, man, do y'all think Nell needs some adjustments down through the next patch? They did make a little bit of some adjustments, decreasing the damage of her SP move too if there's not any stocks, but honestly, truthfully speaking, they just made this character a little bit better, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of Neliels running around after this patch, man. But let me know in the comments, who do you think had one of the best changes from this patch? All around, for me personally, I do think Mayuri, Shunsui, and Hisagi probably very benefited a lot from this. Also Rangiku, but maybe the MVP, probably the one that got maybe one of the biggest buffs, even though I don't think they are the best character still, probably was Hisagi, with having some more options of being able to get that fear meter. But let me know who you've been enjoying in the game post-patch, how you've been feeling about 1000-Year Blood War Ichigo, and which DLC do you think is going to be coming to BLEACH Rebirth of Souls next, man. But I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn the bell, do all those nice things, and I will see y'all in the next one. We up.